even a drunk man, if he's not totally out of it, would be on a plane and see it getting too close to the ground and knowing that it ain't no runway down there, got sense enough to say, hey, what's going on up there? You know, I mean, what? You don't let nobody crash the plane. You don't let people play with your future. See, now, some of them now stepping back and they see that they should have put their foot down a long time ago. Treason don't get better. The minute you see a person that's in a position to do harm to your nation committing treason, I don't care how small the act. I don't care if it was just the act of keeping the American press out of the Oval Office and letting the Russian press in. That's a treasonous act. What is it that you can say to the Russian press? You remember I told you I believe he speaks Russian. What is it he can say to them that the American press don't need to hear? But all of them, even General Kelly, his all of them that was in there, that they should have said, hey, what are you doing? Not act like it is no big deal. And it got worse and worse and worse. The American people, you guilty too. The people in this country, you guilty too. When he said Russia, if you're listening, those emails of Hillary Clinton, if you could find them, I think the American press would be, thank you for it. You'd be greatly rewarded for it. Wait a minute, man. What are you doing talking to Russia, talking about if they're listening? What you got going with Russia? No, I don't think you better. You ain't got no business running for president. That's what you should have said. But they didn't. I mean, a little here, a little there, and every time he tests the waters, you didn't say nothing about that? Okay, let's go a little deeper. Until he got right down to insurrection. Now you want to act like you didn't see it coming? I told you it was coming. It ain't my fault. I did my part. I told all of you that his plan was to get rid of your government. I told you that. Whatever Allah give me, I get on the housetop and share it with you. I showed it to you, and you ignored me. Okay.
Since Adolf Hitler was a factor in an American presidential election, and now Hitler is back, with Donald Trump quoted praising Adolf Hitler, saying Adolf Hitler did some good things. Donald Trump has not said what those good things are.
And you know the sad part? When Farrakhan said Hitler was great and that kind of thing, all of them jumped all over it, didn't they? And he made him explain himself, didn't he? How come they didn't jump on Donald Trump? Skin. You white man, you can eat people and they won't kill you. I didn't hate. It just You know, if all you have to do is put on a certain suit, to that's what that's how the Native American did with the buffalo. He hollowed out a buffalo skin and put it on, slid right up next to them dumb beasts. Huh? Master Farad Muhammad's father did that. He said, I can't go in there and teach them black people. They'll kill me. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to make me a son look like them. So his son got in there, looking like them. Rent rooms in their house, sit around their table, listening to them talking and planning on how they going to do us and all that kind of thing. And he came out and told us, white man the devil. They know they the devil. So he had to teach us why, and since we are the ones to replace this civilization, we can't become this civilization. So, you know, the dumb beast thinks that just because something look like him, that is him. Dumb beasts, you see. And it's many of us. You think just because somebody got black skin that they look that's you. No, I don't think that. No. You know trees by the fruit they bear. Do you understand? See? So, you know, you got a lot to learn. As Jesus taught me, he said, my mother and my brother and sisters are those that do the will of my Father. Just that simple. I told every one of you at different points in time, if you got an agenda other than helping me to build this new nation of Islam, you don't belong here. And if you don't get it in your mind that this is what we are about, see, you got to put your whole self into this. Then you won't let nobody tear it up. I guarantee you remember what the history of them coming over here and they burnt the boats? That was a symbolic gesture, but it was a gesture of, we ain't going back. This is what we gonna do. Huh? So they burnt the boats. Tore them up. Now, no way back. Now let's get our mind on what we here for. You see? See? And that's why we got our own school now. We got our own print shop. We got our own clothing shop. We got our own bread shop. We even got our own means of feeding ourselves, if necessary. So it's many things that we can do, and woe to anybody who do anything to harm what Allah gave us. That's why I told these people, you don't know what you're getting into. Putin, you see what Putin did? Now look at him. I told him he better stay out of the affairs over here. Allah said, leave me alone with him whom I created. And tell me something. Where had you ever seen a democratic republic like this one? Some of y'all, tell me, where did they copy this from? When you create something, you start from nothing. Didn't exist before that. Leave me alone with him whom I created, and gave him vast riches and sons dwelling in. What's the richest nation on earth? Gave him vast riches and sons dwelling in his presence, and made matters easy for him. With God, all things are easy. Look, let me show you something. The way you live here is so easy that people think they can leave me and go out there and do it. Ain't so easy, is it? Don't you know if Allah ain't with you, the most simple thing becomes complicated. Just to show you how quick you can go from knowing rocket science to knowing nothing. How many times have you went back in the house after something and got in there and forgot what you came in there for? Did you have Alzheimer's? That's Allah's way of reminding you that you live on this earth because of him. Acknowledge him. As Jesus said, don't say, I will do this tomorrow or that tomorrow. He said, give no thought of that. Sufficient is today and the evil thereof. You know, your best preparation for the future is to serve Allah today. Do you understand? Keep your duty to Allah today. Don't ever desert your post. You know, especially during wartime. You know, I ain't doing all of this and turning it over to you just so I can look around and you ain't there. So I'm on my post. And I'm as constant as the sun. Rain, shine, whatsoever. I don't care how much it's raining or whatever, the sun gonna rise. Mist started last night, but if it keep raining, that ain't gonna mean, well, I'm gonna take off today. No. Gotta get up. Gotta get up. The earth gonna keep turning. Surely I have turned myself to thee, O Allah, like the earth turns itself to the sun. The earth turning, and so am I. So, all of us, keep up prayer. That prayer keeps you mindful of what's really important. Do you understand? See, and the more you do to help your nation, the more Allah does to help you. That is really true. O soul that is in the remembrance of Allah, that's at rest, return to your Lord. A constant, perpetual returning. Pleasing him and becoming well pleased with yourself. Yeah, that's what I'm here for. When you look around you, when you can walk into your own city, when you can walk into your own country, you can't tell me that won't please you. Well, please Allah, and that's what He guides you to. Do you understand? Don't pay no attention to what somebody that you start to see that may be flaky. They got an answer to Allah. You ain't got to worry about that. Your duty is, as their brother or sister, is say, hey, you look like you need to have prayer. You need to get on it. You looking kind of bad there. That may help them. Either way, you did your part when you reminded them. Reminding profits those who mean to do right. Do you understand? Okay, you ain't got to fuss at them. That ain't your job. Fuss at nobody. If you don't see no change, you tell me about it, and then don't worry about it no more. So I told you, I ain't the police. I ain't here to police you to make you do nothing. You see what happened to Royal? What was he out there doing? You gonna make people go and work in your places and whatnot? You can't do that. You can tell people, I want you to go do this. You my follower, I expect you to do that. If you don't want to do it, then I had people tell me, well, I ain't going to do that. I said, well, you know what that means, right? And then they leave. Do you understand? I ain't got no followers tell me I ain't going to do that. That's a contradiction of terms. Join the military and see, join the police force, join any, go to Chrysler, GM, or whatnot, and the foreman tell you go over there and do something, you tell them I ain't gonna do that. I bet you don't be in that factory the next day. I didn't hear you. Because what? If you're not going to do what I need you to do, you're not helping me. Then I don't need you here. Do you understand? Tell you what, you get in charge of something and hire somebody. Or bring somebody in there that's supposed to be helping you, and then you tell them to do something and they tell me they ain't going to do it. You accept that? Or you put them out? You know, I mean, you lived in your mom and daddy's house. They told you, go in there and do this, or wash the dishes, or do something. I ain't going to do it. What? You out of here. Do you understand? When you get to the point where I can't tell you what to do, the new nation of Islam is no longer for you. Whenever the Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave an instruction of what he wanted done, my response was, I hear and I obey. I told you. If you don't know how to follow, you don't know how to lead. I wasn't picking and choosing what I wanted to do that he said. If he said it, I did it. It's just that simple. So, Lawrence is talking about a treasonous man that I mean, he even read the snake to you more than once. He still reads it. You knew what he was when you put him in there. And out of all the people that talk about him, you ain't never seen him tweet nothing about me. He talked about Jim Kelly, what's his name? John Kelly. He even talk about Barr and all them other people. They was praising him at one time. But he ain't nothing. He's nothing to me but a lost soul. That I could have helped. I could have saved him if he had submitted.
Trump's response today to his former White House Chief of Staff, Marine Corps General John Kelly, quote,
beg your pardon? It's already up. Just a moment. Let me see.
Donald Trump's praise of Hitler was not to deny the words that John Kelly quoted Donald Trump saying. Donald Trump's response was a written statement simply calling John Kelly, quote, a total degenerate. Donald Trump did not issue a statement saying Hitler did not do some good things. Donald Trump could have issued a statement saying that, but he didn't. Donald Trump knows that he has the American Nazi supporters out there who are going to vote for him. Actual American Nazis. Small sliver of Trump voters, but he needs every one of them. Donald Trump knows that he needs every total degenerate American Nazi voter in every swing state to vote for him. And so Donald Trump cannot afford to lose a single one of them. And that's why he refused to condemn Hitler today and only condemned John Kelly. What are the good things? What are the good things that Hitler did? That is the first question for Donald Trump, for any reporter who is next allowed to ask a question of Trump. What are the good things Hitler did? Hitler is known for attempting to exterminate.
It's just like, that's what should be asked to everybody that's voting for Donald Trump. You Trump addicts out there. What good thing did Donald Trump do? Them checks, what did they call them? Stimulus checks that was given. Donald Trump didn't give them checks to you. Congress gave that to you. Presidents don't have no power of the purse. The necessity of all of those, it's like people didn't understand why gas prices was low during the pandemic. Gas prices was low because people wasn't getting out of their house going nowhere. And so gas wasn't being guzzled. And when the demand for something goes down, the price goes down. Do you understand? The more demand, the more prices go up. Now that's normal. But sometimes the prices are price gouging. And that's where the government steps in, or supposed to step in and say, no, 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 you overdoing it here. You see, that's unjust enrichment. You see, look, there's no such thing as capitalism without control. It's like it's a difference in loan and loan sharking. Do you understand? You know, one is lawful. The other is against the law. You see, you have to have rules in any civilized society. Where without rules, it becomes a concrete jungle. We live like animals. Do you understand? And so Allah, as I was talking about this requires more than a word or two. So if tomorrow we'll teach on more of this democratic republic, because this is something, this civilization, this form of government is something that had never existed before. You see, a little of it may have began with the idea of like what England had. That's why this was called Babylon. But they didn't have the checks and balances that this system has. Do you understand? And so that's why this is called Babylon, Baby London the Great. You see, and this became the greatest nation that the world had ever seen, and it's the richest. I mean, countries from all over the earth get rich selling things back in, with trading with the United States. The United States, if the United States stock market crashes, it affects the whole world. So it's a lot of things that makes this the cradle of civilization. And so when we read in the book where it says that he shall speak from the cradle and in old age, before the internet, the whole world couldn't hear what was happening over in the cradle. Not at the same time. But now, the whole earth can hear me at the same time. You see? So I'm speaking from the cradle and in old age. You see? I'm no baby. So we have a lot to get to, but I wanted to get to where in here he points out some things that it just needs to be heard.
Every Jewish person living in Europe, and he hoped to exterminate every Jew living in the world. Hitler tried to fulfill that ambition by annihilating 6 million men, women, and children. Grandfathers, grandmothers, great-grandfathers, babies. And while Hitler was at it in those death camps, in combat, Hitler killed as many American soldiers as he possibly could. Adolf Hitler introduced the idea of bombing civilian populations from the air that had no military strategic objective. He killed men, women, and children in London that way. Adolf Hitler was from start to finish a raving madman who committed suicide when he knew he had lost World War II. What good things
What would you say when he said to you that Hitler did a lot of good things?
Well, I tell him that. I said, sir, if you, first of all, you should never say that. But if you knew what Hitler was all about from the beginning to the end, everything he did was in support of his racist, fascist life, philosophy, so that nothing he did you could argue was good.
The next reporter to ask Donald Trump a question must ask him, what good things did Hitler do? Reporters must also ask Donald Trump what bad things Hitler did. And watch how reluctant Donald Trump will be to publicly condemn Hitler, because Donald Trump fears losing a single vote from a single degenerate American Nazi. Donald Trump has been quoted by multiple sources saying he wished he had Hitler's generals. Jeffrey Goldberg reported more of Donald Trump's praise of Hitler and his generals in a piece in The Atlantic yesterday under the headline, "Trump, I need the kind of generals that Hitler had." Hitler's generals were murderous anti-Semites who were also the worst generals fighting World War II in Europe. Hitler's generals were wrong about how to fight the war, and they lost every major battle against the great American generals who Donald Trump dishonors with his perverse anti-Semitic praise of Hitler and Hitler's generals. And Hitler's generals conspired repeatedly to assassinate Adolf Hitler, but because they were incompetent, Hitler's generals failed in every attempt to assassinate Adolf Hitler. But Donald Trump wants Hitler's generals. He doesn't want Franklin Roosevelt's generals, the generals who actually won World War II. George C. Marshall, the general who masterminded the entire American approach to World War II in the Atlantic and the Pacific. General Dwight D. Eisenhower, who won the war in Europe and became president of the United States. Legendary generals, George Patton, Douglas MacArthur, General Omar Bradley. Donald Trump doesn't want any of them. You know who didn't want Hitler's generals? Hitler.
Well, see, the thing is that generals don't belong to presidents. They are the United States generals. They are America's generals. They're not President so-and-so's generals. Do you understand? You know what they call the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, and the Marine Corps? They call them the U.S., the United States Armed Forces. See, and you don't give your allegiance to no general. A general give his allegiance to the same one you give yours to, is to the United States, and by that, the Constitution. You see, the one flaw that I see in that is that they don't teach the Constitution in school. The whole time you in school, they should give you constitutional studies. But then people couldn't hide up under the flag pretending to be patriotic when they really not, if you know the Constitution. Do you understand? But if everybody was taught the Constitution, then the criminal justice system would be better. The police force would be better. Everybody would be better, because they would know what they have the right to do and what they don't have the right to do. Do you understand? And they know what everybody else got the right and what they ain't got the right to do. Of course, lawyers would not be as necessary then, if everybody knew their constitutional rights. Do you understand? And you can't teach the Constitution and don't teach the Bill of Rights. You see, so you should incorporate that into the educational system. But that was not done.
His generals were clowns in the same way that Donald Trump thinks that the generals in command of the American military now are clowns. Jeffrey Goldberg reports, quote, when Trump raised the subject of German generals, Roosevelt's generals, the generals who actually won World War II, George C. Marshall, the general who masterminded the entire American approach to World War II in the Atlantic and the Pacific, General Dwight D. Eisenhower, who won the war in Europe and became president of the United States, legendary generals George Patton, Douglas MacArthur, General Omar Bradley. Donald Trump doesn't want any of them. You know who didn't want Hitler's generals? Hitler. Hitler thought his generals were clowns in the same way that Donald Trump thinks that the generals in command of the American military now are clowns.
Now, many people don't believe that. But if you grew up like I grew up in the Watts and in the amongst black people, when people like Iceberg Slim was a hero to some, watching preachers and pimps, and both of them doing the same thing. Whenever a con man can con you, he don't think nothing of you. That when he said Hitler didn't think nothing of his generals, he thought they were clowns. If they wasn't clowns, they wouldn't have been following him. He knew that. He knew what he was saying. What did his minister of propaganda, Goebbels, say? Goebbels said, tell the big lie. Don't tell the small one. Because then because people won't believe it. Because they tell small lies and they can spot a small lie. But tell a big lie and they will say, oh, nobody would make that up. They would judge you by the way they are. They would not make it up, so they figure you wouldn't make that up. It must be true. And so that's how and so the bigger the lie, the more people believed it. Do you understand? And Goebbels knew his people. He knew something about human nature. Now, when you can get them kind of people, sacrificing them is no more than sacrificing a pawn. That's why they say that the chess is a game of kings. Why? Because you sacrifice rooks, pawns easily. That's the first one to get sacrificed in the game, is the pawns. Why? They are expendable. Hitler didn't care nothing about them German soldiers and stuff that he was sending off out there to die. All he cared about was his victory. The hell with how many people died in the wake of that. Didn't even have to have no bunch of planners. Just send them in there and let them fight. And because what? They are fools anyway. I'm going to wind up having to get rid of most of them. That's what he was thinking. If he finally come to power, we're going to have to get rid of most of them because they'll be scheming on him next. And, that's why they never... I remember this series came on called Wise Guy. And I remember one line in it in particular. Says, every tyrant has a greedy right hand. And, it's just like in the Godfather, in them movies, they always show you that the one that's the right-hand man of the Don or whatever, he better watch it. Cause if he can get rid of the Don, he's the next Don. Do you understand? So that, you know, people that sign on to crookedness, the wise one knows that ain't none of them trustworthy. How you trustworthy when you violating trust that people put in you all the time? Do you understand what I'm saying? You can't be trustworthy if you don't have no limit to what you will do and how far you will go with things. No, you got to put limits on yourself. Leadership is, look, man, when you in charge, kings don't answer to nobody but themselves. That's how they become tyrants. Do you understand? You can't start believing that your own hype now. Your word is law. Your word is human. Just like everybody else's word. It's only law when you enforce it yourself and enforce it on yourself. Do you understand? And without the help of Allah, you can't. They got a song, I am weak, but thou art strong. And then they put Jesus' name in it. Jesus, keep me from all wrong. Well, all the messengers of God was there to help bolster and buffer us and keep us from the wrong that this world. We have indeed sent down to you clothing to cover your shame, clothing for beauty, and clothing that will guard you against the doing of evil that is the best. And this is speaking of the messages of Allah, that we all may be mindful of our duty. Huh? So that's what, I bear witness. The messenger said the black man's nature makes him to tremble in fear at time when he know he's far off the path. That's what make him get back on the path. You see? So I've it's things that if it wasn't for Allah's word, I told you, I was out there in that world. And it was only so far I could go. Because it frightened me. That's thanks to my mother's teaching. You see? So, I've been, I was chosen by Allah to do this. And so, like Jonah, couldn't get out of it. so now I'm doing it, and I'm going to do all I can to reinforce strength within each and every one of you. I want you to be strong. The flesh is weak, but that it was designed to be that. It was designed to submit to whoever is in charge up here. Do you understand? See? Because that's one of the reasons why we are compared to clay. You can mold clay. That's what the mind does. It molds the flesh into vocations, into forms. You see? There you go. So let's stand and have prayer. Give me a minute here. There. Hut, dance. Hut.
Allah is the greatest. Allah is the greatest. Allah is the greatest. Allah is the greatest. And I bear witness that I know of none who deserves to be served or worshipped beside thee. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, all holy praise is due and be to thee, O Allah, the Lord of the worlds. The Beneficent, the Most Merciful Master of the Day of Requital, thee do we serve, and thee do we beseech for help. O Allah, please continually guide us and keep us on the right path and way, the straight path and way of thee and those upon whom thou hast bestowed thy favors, not the crooked paths and ways of Satan and those upon whom thy wrath is or will be brought down, nor the foolish paths and ways of those who go astray or who are led astray, even after they've heard and been given the true understanding of thy holy word and teachings. Truly, I have again turned myself to thee, O Allah, striving to be totally upright, to thee who originated the heavens and the earth, and I am not of the polytheists. Truly my prayers, my sacrifices, my life, and my death are all for thee, O Allah, the Lord of the worlds. No associate hast thou in this am I commanded, and I am of those who submit. O Allah, thou art the King. I know of no God but thee. Thou art my Lord, and I am thy servant. I have been greatly unjust to myself, and I confess my faults and weaknesses. So please grant me and my true followers and family continual protection against all of our faults and weaknesses. For none grants protection against faults and weaknesses but thee. And guide us to and instill within us the best of moral character and thoughts. For none can guide us to and instill within us the best of moral character and thoughts but thee, and turn us away from and remove from us the evil and indecent moral character and thoughts. For none can turn us away from and remove from us the evil and indecent moral character and thoughts but thee. And O Allah, we beseech thee for thy help and ask thy protection. And we believe in thee and we trust in thee. And we seek thy help to laud thee in the best manner, and to never be ungrateful unto thee, and to cast off and to forsake him or her who is disobedient unto thee, and to remove from ourselves all things that are displeasing unto thee and beside thee. And our Father, Allah, in heaven praised is and be thy holy and righteous name, and thy kingdom come. Let thy kingdom come, and thy will be done on the earth, as it is written in the spiritual heaven, the Holy Scriptures. Give to us this, the Sabbath day, the understanding and hearts that will always believe in and be inclined to thy holy and righteous words, and obedient to them. And forgive us our trespasses, and please grant to us forgiveness, the ability to forgive those who may trespass against us. And leave us not alone during the times of temptation and trial, but please stand by us and deliver us from all the evils thereof. For thine is the kingdoms of both the heavenly and the earthly knowledge, and the understanding power and the glory, the wisdom over both are thine forever and ever and ever. And O Allah, please continually guide us among those whom thou hast and wilt guide aright, and preserve and perfect us among those whom thou hast and wilt preserve and perfect, and befriend us among those whom thou hast and wilt befriend, and bless us in whatsoever thou dost grant to us, and deliver us from the evils of what thou hast judged. For surely and truly thou judgest, and there is none that can judge against thee. And surely he whom thou befriendest shall never be disgraced. Ameen. Ameen. And Ameen. Hut, tent, hut. Original salute. Ready, front. You may be seated. Does anyone have any questions they want to ask me?
So we have a comment from CM Laviva, and he says, I'm your follower.
Okay, well, all praise is due to Allah. You give me a call at 601-786-1332 or at 601-786-9742. That's my landline. That when it's late at night or real early in the morning, you can catch me on my landline. My cell phone is that first number, 601-786-1332. And you just keep coming to class, keep learning. And eventually you and I will talk, and we will meet face to face. And so I always want to meet with my followers. So all praise is due to Allah. Did anyone else have something they wanted to ask me? Okay. Then I wanted to play the rest of this, but I think I need to just wait until tomorrow. If it pleases Allah, we will let you see it tomorrow to reinforce why. I want you to see why we do what we do. You know, what is the... I remember this preacher told me, and I've told you this many times. He's this old preacher. His name was Abraham, and he said, Brother Morgan, he didn't pronounce my name at that time, but it didn't make no difference to me. He called me what he wanted. He was old enough to be my daddy. So he said, there's some people so heavenly bound that they ain't no earthly good. And I understood just what he meant by that. Fanaticism, even in religion, is terrible, because it makes you unbalanced.
you don't look at yourself and think that you can ignore what you are and be happy. The word of God says, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh. So it's natural that the natural mind be taught to us first, so that we would be able to put everything in its proper order. So we got a chance to see where the natural mind will lead us. And the question is, are you happy? Well then, if you see where the natural mind can lead, now that you know that it ain't gonna bring you happiness, not alone, because you are more than natural. The natural mind only sees after the natural things. And that's where that unseen part of you, it's like the earth is full of beautiful things, but there's an unseen atmosphere around here that helps sustain them beautiful things. Do you understand? And so the atmosphere is not, it is not visible to the naked eye until you get out and look at the earth objectively. Then you can see that little onion skin around it. Do you understand? Yeah. So then the scripture says, make to yourselves friends, obedient to the natural mind, to the unrighteous mind, so that when you fail to gain the peace and contentment that you seek, then they, the prophets and messengers, the angels, may receive you into everlasting habitation. As long as that atmosphere is around the earth is everlasting. You see, the life on it is everlasting life. Yes. Praises be to Allah. So, was there someone else? All right. Then we're going to dismiss you. And if it pleases Allah, we will take you into some of these lessons tomorrow in a more in-depth way. May Allah's Salam Alaikum.
Conference recording. Stop.